Hi, welcome to another issue of Talk About Hart here on Shaw TV North Island. Our guest today is Steve Watson from BC Hydro. Steve, thanks for coming in.
Good to be here.
Well, there's about 20 topics at least that we could talk about. We've only got 28 minutes. But I think the one I want to start with is the water. And first, you guys did a brilliant job on managing the water. So for the salmon and the power.
Thank you for that.
Tell us a bit about it.
Well, it's not a short duration event. Basically started the fall of 2013. We had a bit of a storm event end of September. And then through the fall and winter of 2013-14, it was record dry.
Yeah.
And so the John Hart Generating Station only just recently, last few days, has gone to full power.
Yeah.
So we just try to keep the eggs covered with water as we got through the springtime, and then maintain those flows so with the alevin, the fry and smolt and out-migration, that was achieved. So that was great. And then on the other side of the coin, there's a lot of recreation that happens on the Upper Campbell Buddle Lake.
Yeah.
So we were able to just get into those recreation targets for the summer. So, we think of 50, we have about, our records go back to 1963, and we model these kinds of things, but it was an unprecedented year, that 12-month period, and but somehow we managed through it.
But the residents wouldn't even know, except of course there are stories in the paper. But
yeah, well, we try to inform people, I think, as you know, through the community about what we're doing, and the river flows were lower than normal, and the reservoirs were lower than normal generally, but I think people got it, which we appreciate.
And hydro not running the generating station, I mean, does that cost money, or is it easy to get it elsewhere from the timeline?
Yeah, well, BC Hydro has a provincial grid, so we're able to pull water or in generation from other parts of the province. So actually, Vancouver Island generally was really dry. The Pentland River system, it was shut down since early June and only just started up. So we relied on our undersea cables more than we normally do this past year, but now we have lots of water. And so we'll manage through it. But this was more of a social environmental issue and our water license just to maintain some of those water use interests.
Are the reservoirs back to 100% now?
They are, and I think the Lower Campbell, McCover Lake is probably a little on the higher side, as well as Upper Campbell, Buddle Lake. We're actually into a flood buffer zone, which we call it.
Wow.
So the reservoir operates between 212 to 220 meters above elevation. It's come up about 3 meters in the past few weeks. So we're actually spilling water down Elk Falls Canyon for flood risk management, and we see that continuing through this week and potentially beyond. So it's amazing transition between no water or trying to manage through that to too much water.
In the space of a week?
Yeah, a few weeks, exactly.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Yeah. Now, still on water, as we know, John Hart Generating Station, a little billion-dollar project going on out there, entails the city getting a new water intake. And you've done a deal with them. The mayor thinks the hydro should have paid 100%. The balance of council thinks the deal they've got is fine. What's your perspective on that?
Well, this goes back to 2011 when we realized the penstocks are going to be removed and the underground tunnel was going to be. So we've been working with the city for years on this. We developed a memorandum of understanding. I guess going back, we have a water use agreement. That's renewed every year or 5 years on hydro being compensated for that water that doesn't go through the turbines. So we have that in place, and there's a lot of liabilities and responsibilities. And this one here, we felt that we could validate some funds to go towards having the cities being detached from our system. It's going to be a lot better than what exists today from a seismic point of view. So we think 75% of a bill that's around $16.7 million is a lot. That's about $12.5 million. So I think we went above and beyond, and all within the bounds of the BC Utilities Commission that has to regulate this project. So.
Well, the hydro has a pretty good relationship with the city in general, eh?
I absolutely agree. I mean, just like any relationship, you have certain issues, but by and large, we have an excellent relationship. The city was very supportive with the John Hart project as we went through regulatory processes and other initiatives that Hydro has, even from funding to Highway 19A when at Willow Point, we provided funding. Like, there's all kinds of intersections that we have, so we have good communications, and that good relationship will continue.
Yeah, good. How long have you been doing this?
Well, I've been with BC Hydro 23 years and 15 years in community relations and capital projects, and so and dealing with Campbell River for the last 15 years as well. So it's kind of a home away from home. I'm up here a couple of days a week. I actually live in a new space, and my office is in Nanaimo.
But I overheard you occasionally stay in town overnight.
I do. Yeah, I stayed overnight just recently, but yeah, by and large, I'm only a short distance away, so I tend to go back and forth.
Yeah. One of the things that, well, I'm really glad you're here for the interview, but you're on the communication side, but you seem to be in management as well. Do they give you management decisions, or when an issue comes up, do you have to run it past somebody?
Well, it depends. I mean, by and large, I have to say there's 6,000 odd employees within BC Hydro province-wide. So we have our own staff here locally, regionally, and province and head office. So we have so many people, engineers to general trades to biologists, engineers, that really we work together as a team, which is really important. And, in the water management issues, we have our own meteorologist, hydrologist, biologists, and engineers. We plan out all these kind of things. So I'm just a point of contact with the community. So I'm embedded and involved in a lot of those things, but it's a wider team that really should deserve kudos in what we do.
Yeah. Now, you've got a lot of projects going on in town, apart from that little $1 billion thing. Quinsam Crossing, you're putting an office there?
Yeah, so we have, basically there's two offices in Campbell River and about 100 employees. And so we have the generating station at John Hart. There's about 75 odd employees there. And they've been relocated at the Campbell River Common, Ironwood Mall, while the generating station happens.
Oh, that's what's there.
And then we also have 10 staff also at John Hart that's working with the contractor in Power BC.
Yeah.
And then on the power line side of the business, we have an office on Evergreen, which has been there 40 odd years.
Right.
And we've outgrown it. It's not in great shape. And so it's about 20 acres, and we have the office building there. So we decided to find a new location, and we went to Quinsam Crossing by the Shell gas station.
Yeah.
And we're looking to move in there around January 2015.
Wow.
It's a really good site from an emergency response point of view. It's going to have really good technology. It's about $20 million, and about 60 people have been working on that since around summer 2013.
We don't hear a lot about it, but that's on First Nations land, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, it's the first agreement we've had province-wide on actually having a facility on an Indian Reserve land.
Yeah.
So we're pretty proud of that, and working with the Weewakai, Keep Mudge Band. And so far, we've had a good opportunity to work through that. Yeah.
Were you the point guy on those negotiations too?
No, we have our Aboriginal Relations group and our
okay.
properties group. Those are the leads. I was just on the edge of that. So yeah.
Well,
can't be involved in everything.
I was going to say. Speaking of everything, the telephone pole replacement project. 10,000 aging telephone poles.
I'm not sure if that's the concrete. There's concrete poles that we tried a number of years ago now, and it turned out they weren't ideal from a safety point of view. So we're in the process of removing those poles province-wide. And so there's some around town. There's some just north of Nanaimo by the Lanceville or the Noose Bay on the flats there. You'll see those poles being removed. So we're in the process of removing a lot of those concrete poles. But certainly the wood poles, they have a certain lifespan. We have a wood pole test and treatment program, and that's tried to extend the life of them, but those poles are replaced too. So
yeah, I saw some coming out in Campbellton actually last week.
Yes, yeah, it's an ongoing maintenance. We're always upgrading and maintaining our infrastructure.
So that's a normal thing. It's not a special thing.
No, it's certain phases. Sometimes we upgrade our poles to double circuit or add another line onto it because we keep up with load growth or reliability benefits. So it really depends, but we're out doing a lot of different projects around town.
Yeah. This is a question for the Campbellton Neighborhood Association. What's the prospect of moving those lines back into the alley? Like from Hydro's perspective, cost, difficulty, I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, BC Hydro's not going to do it on our own. So, that's up to the community. So the City of Campbell River, which you referenced earlier, they had an undergrounding beautification project, Willow Point. They did it over a couple of years, I think 2006 and 2010 or so. And we provided funding to that. We paid a percentage of the cost to underground our lines.
Is that a benefit to Hydro or just a social service?
It's kind of both. I mean, undergrounding has some benefits. Yeah. But usually these poles are in urban, they have to be in the downtown core, basically, or in the downtown. Yeah. So there's really not trees, so reliability is But we just think it's a good social benefit. I think we have about $1 million per year in grant funding to underground lines. So that's up to the municipality to determine how they want to proceed with that.
So in the
They can apply.
in the city elections that are going on right now towards the November 15th voting day, get out and vote. That could be one of the issues. Ask some of the candidates, are you in favor of getting power lines underground?
Yeah, well, I mean, as I said, I think the city has been pretty good so far in case it will appoint, but what they want to do in other areas, that's up to the municipality, and then they can come to BC Hydro and apply for funding.
Yeah, okay. Speaking of social good here, Hydro helps tackle graffiti. Hydro to contribute to graffiti fund in lieu of 5-day removal regulations. But where does that come from?
So we have it's a graffiti and removal agreement we can reach out to and develop with municipalities. So we have agreements across the province, a number of them on Vancouver Island, Courtenay, for example. I mean, we've been talking to the city of Campbell River for some time. Graffiti is a problem. It's vandalism, and so we have some modest funding available to we remove obscene graffiti and things of that nature, but just someone tags their name, it's going to sit there because we don't have the time or resources to handle that. So if we can get community volunteers to deal with our equipment as well as the broader community, that's great. So we're very pleased that the community's taking that on. So we're happy to help out.
Near where I live, there's a bunch of drawings on it. It's a little green box that's about 5 feet high. Is that one of your facilities?
Yeah, we have what they're called pad-mounted ground transformers for underground. So they often are a source of target, which is unfortunate. We try with a certain paint, we try to remove them. And so this is not just removing the graffiti. Depending on where things go, we have agreements we can actually cover those transformers with scenes like pictures or artwork and that kind of thing. But that's taking it to the next level.
Okay, we're really making good time here. BC Hydro issues phone scam warning. Were people getting calls, a lot of calls, or is this just, hey, there's a few people, keep your head up? Yeah,
this happens from time to time. People knock on the door saying they're representative of BC Hydro, or they more so often they phone. And they're just trying to get access or information, credit cards and that kind of stuff. So Hydro, we don't really do that, right? We first of all, we have ID, and there's no reason why we'd knock on your door or do those kind of things. So we certainly would encourage people, if they're concerned, to call our call center, and we can go from there. But those kind of scams, it's unfortunate.
I don't know if you'd remember the call center phone number off the top of your head.
I think it's 1-800 BC Hydro. I should know that. I know it for outages. It's 1-800 or 1-888 Power On. But yeah, people. It's on our website, and people cannot just phone. They can also send emails and that kind of stuff too.
Okay. We might have to fill here for a few minutes, but rumors of penstock soil at water site not true. Hydro. This is the Courier Islander of October 24, fairly recent. I love this quote. We are also highly engaged in the Campbell River community and always listen to any concerns or issues.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, basically, we have our Campbell River Liaison committee. We're actually meeting tonight. And so this is the all the various stakeholders, Campbell River Environmental Committee, Campbell River Salmon Foundation, to local governments, regional districts, government fish agencies. And so this is actually our 20th meeting since 2007. And so it's like the John Hart project, the Salmon River Diversion project, operations, all those kinds of things. So we try to listen as much as we can, and that's how, with the John Hart project, when we listen, there's opportunities. And so we gained, like the Rotary Club's Elk Falls Suspension Bridge, partnerships with the museum for staffing the Interpreter Center, all those kind of things. So it's important to us. But we, as far as that application for soil remediation, we don't have any role in that.
Yeah, but I'm going to read the quote again. We are also highly engaged in the Campbell River community and always listen to any concerns or issues. I mean, now, is that you, or is this a hydro policy province-wide, or it's a provincial policy that you've sort of expanded here?
Yeah, I don't think, I'm not sure, you're not going to see it in a document per se, but I think it's just something we've evolved. I mean, I've been working with the community here for 15 years, the projects that we've done, but this, generally speaking, hydro, we want to have big ears. We want to be able to listen, and too often people are just talking, they're not listening. And so as long as we know the facts, know the perspectives. When we make a decision, at least be informed. We may not always agree, but at least people know why we made those decisions. And so I always say we don't know what we don't know. And so therefore, the more we understand and more people come forward, then we can take action.
How much of that attitude is because it's a public corporation, a crown corporation as we call it, and not, say, a private sector, profit-driven bottom line?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, in any, whether it's crown or government or private, there's always examples of where it goes is really good or
there
conversely
are
not
some
so
good
good.
private ones too.
And that's absolutely. So, you know, I just think, fortunate enough with BC Hydro, we're generally trying to do the right thing. And so that's really the bottom line, and that's what I'm most proud about. And so therefore, that's why we will listen, and we'll try to do the best we can
and
to
that's why you
accommodate
come on TV shows.
Yeah, that's part of the interaction, so people know what's happening, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's good. Okay, people know what's happening. I'm intrigued that you're using the old Campbellton School for the office there. Actually, it's not you; it's your subcontractor.
Yeah,
your
InPower.
contractors.
Yeah.
Tell us
Well,
a bit about that. How did that come about?
yeah, fair enough. Well, you know, the John Hart property, it's 250 acres, which seems like a lot, but it's actually a very narrow strip that runs from the John Hart Dam about 2 kilometers down the generating station. So it's pretty tight. And it's an operating facility. So the John Hart's continuing to operate while this construction work's happening.
Yeah, that's a trick too.
It is. So things like the controlled blasting and drilling is going to take place. There's a lot of measures in place so they don't interrupt the flows within the penstock. So InPower BC is doing a really good job in terms of mitigating and considering those kinds of things. So anyway, it's just too tight on the site to have a laydown, an office building. So they looked around and ideally, old elementary site, the corner of Highway 28 and Highway 19, was ideal. And so they're in the process of upgrading that and moving in very shortly, later on, maybe even this month, end of October. And so you talked about Campbellton earlier with the wires. That's going to really increase Campbellton in terms of you know, just sitting there kind of dilapidated. And that site's going to be reinvigorated, more people. And I know InPower is engaged with the local association there in Campbellton. So and it's close to site, so it's convenient.
It's amazing that, you know, it was sitting there, and it's perfect.
Well, I mean, the other side of it is less traffic. People are going to go to the Campbellton Elementary site and be bused back and forth, because right now there's about 70 people. It's going to go all the way up to 360 in 2016. So that's a lot of traffic that we're kind of keeping back from going up the site.
Yeah, it's good. This suspension bridge is a project that is dear to me. Not that I'm looking forward to going there. I grew up with the Capilano Suspension Bridge, and it's a tremendous facility in North Vancouver. I think this one at the Elk Falls site is probably going to be even better, because you're looking at something. Instead of a little creekway down there, you know, depending on whether the reservoir is full or not, there's a great waterfall there.
Yeah, I can't agree more. I think it's fantastic. You know, the Rotary Club, Laurie Buza and all those, you know, they've done a wonderful job in trying to promote it. And really, Hydro is, in many ways, has enabled it. I mean, parking was a big constraint there. So, you know, with us building that new permanent, you know, up to, I think, 80 parking spots, their permanent access into Elk Falls, so now they have the parking. And BC Parks deserves a lot of credit, because, you know, to work in an agreement to allow that in a provincial park.
They did some land swaps, I think.
Yeah, and so we're going to turn over the parking lot area to BC Parks once this project's finished as a legacy. So, you know, it's a minimum flow of about 4 cubic meters a second. We're spilling about 40 right now, so people can check that out. But I've been there when we were spilling about 275 cubic meters per second. It is unbelievable. The ground almost kind of vibrates, and the spray goes up to the treetops. It's the suspension bridge might be in a fog at those times, but I think it's great, and I look forward to seeing it.
And one of the details, the geotechnical data. Hydro provided geotechnical data for the footings for the anchors?
Well, we were able to share information. It goes back about trying to work with the community. So we shared geotechnical work for the project, because obviously our work is underground. So that helped them, as well as we did a complete environmental assessment leading up to that. So we shared that with in terms of certain details. So we were able to share that in kind.
10 minutes, you're too good. I'm going to have to ask you about provincial policy in a few minutes. But I've forgotten where I was going to go. Well, actually, this is a good one. What's your perspective of the big project, the $1 billion project, and what it means for Campbell River?
Yeah, well, we're obviously it's a huge project for hydro. It's the largest project by dollar value we've ever submitted to the BC Utilities Commission.
Really?
And so obviously we've done much larger projects in the Peace Columbia, but by dollar value it's the most. So that was important to get through. And you know, this project is not just on the Vancouver Island scene; it's across North America. The various journals and so forth are very interested in this project, given the scope and the size of it, and you know, to have a, you know, Elk Falls Provincial Park, city domestic water supply, First Nations, salmon capital of the world with the flows, like, and it's 6 kilometers from downtown Campbell River.
Tricky engineering.
And it's like, just aside from the social environmental reasons, it's, you know, then it's really technically very challenging with the rock and the construction. It's, you know, removing the first year and a half, just like a mining operation, removing all that rock, and that goes to First Nations, the excess rock. So you know, I think this is the fun time. This is where the construction starts. And you know, there's going to be bumps along the road. I mean, anytime you get a major project this size, there's going to be certain issues.
Well, what could go wrong?
Well, you know, there's certain things like the rock content. You know, you do test drilling, and there's certain risks, like as you tunnel through, how is that rock content going to be, the density and the potential leakages and those kind of things. But the rock looks really good. InPower BC has been doing some further drilling where the generating station cavern is going to be located. And that cavern's something like 30, 40 meters below the surface, and then that cavern itself is like 39 meters. It's huge. But that rock looks very strong in terms of what they're trying to do. So those are some of the things that as they control, blast, and drill through, about 3 or 4 meters of rock, which will start around just November. That'll be interesting to see how that unfolds.
Keeping the dam producing power, I guess the dam doesn't produce power, but anyway, you know what I mean. While they are constructing, is that a trick?
Well, yeah, I mean, we talked a little bit about the ground vibrations and those kind of things. So the penstocks, you know, they're 67 years old. They're wood stave. It's 1.8 kilometers from the dam to the generating station, and 1.1 kilometers is the wood stave. And so they're very sensitive. They're only supposed to last about 40 years, and we got 67. We need about 3 or 4 more years. And so they're very sensitive. So the intake gate will close, or you can lose multiple penstocks for protection, and that can impact downstream fish habitat. And so they've got a good plan in place to have just and that benefits the wider community in terms of sound and ground vibration. It's not, you know, there was Neil Cameron did a story on the little blast theory versus the ripple rock example. Just small, thousands and thousands of small blasts to get through all that rock. 300,000 cubic meters of rock, which is enough to fill a 120 Olympic sized swimming pool. So it's quite a bit of rock.
You do well to remember data like that. You know, we have a natural gas generating station in town. I can't even remember the corporate name of it at the moment. But is that helpful in the sense that if you had to diminish power from John Hart, that you can fire that up?
Well, it is good to have. I mean, basically we provide on-island generation. Can provide about 1/3 of the power needs for the island in the wintertime. In the summertime, because it's more light and the electric heat isn't on, we can provide about 2/3 of the power. But peak demand is really the key, and so especially in the wintertime and so forth, it's important to have that natural gas facility available. And also, we have various times we take off transmission lines for maintenance work. So it provides support to the system as well, so it's important.
Is it running very often? I mean, occasionally I see steam coming out of it.
It depends. I can't give you an example how it ran this past year, but it depends. They have maintenance schedules and so forth, but I'd probably suggest it's not running as much as it, it's probably idle for most of the time.
And the other, some months in the summer, I was driving up island on the highway, and I see this big construction project near Buckley Bay. So I stop and take some pictures, and the security guy comes out, and you know, it's a journalist, and it's okay. But what is going on there? That's a hydro project.
Yeah, that's the Buckley Bay substation project. It's about 3 kilometers north of the Buckley Bay ferry terminal. So if you're going northbound, and you're a passenger, you can look out and you can see it.
Yeah.
And actually, it had the lights on this morning. I saw it this morning. It was really quite lit up and very noticeable. But that's providing reliability and load growth to the southern Comox Valley. So that's about $28 million for the substation and $11 million worth of distribution work to connect the circuits in that area. So that's a lot of investment for load growth and reliability, and it's going to be online next winter. The substation is nearly complete, but we have to do the distribution work or the power line side of it where it feeds out of it.
Yeah. Now, my suspicious nature said that, that's where the tie line from Butte Inlet Power is going to come in. Not true?
No, it's way too far for that. Yeah. Our friend Lance here wants me to ask about Butte Inlet and IPPs and the money that PowerX and Hydro are going to pay versus, the cost benefit and all that. Do you have views on that? Well, I mean, broadly, independent power producers play a role in keeping the lights on in the province. So, the Kokish River system up north, that came online. Then we had the wind farm on the island, so that helps some more power generation on the island. Electricity purchase agreements are developed, so the developers are the one that take the risk on promoting or developing that particular resource, whether it's wind or micro hydro. And then we develop, electricity purchase agreements that last, say, 20, 30 years, and we buy that power. And so I don't think there's anything right now, and recently, it's been a few years, a number of years actually, since we had the last call. And so right now it's a form of BC Hydro, but also provincial government policy. That's our energy plan, and up to Minister Bennett and other folks to determine. So, but for right now, they absolutely play a role.
Okay, I'd like micro hydro producers to play a bigger role, and I'm talking streams and creeks and things like that. Is that at all in your view or the corporation's view? Yeah,
we have. I think there's ability for projects that are under 10 megawatts to engage into hydro, smaller projects.
Maybe 10 kilowatts or something.
Well, then there's like net metering programs and things of that nature. So I haven't been up to date the last few years on it, but net metering and other things were means for people to have, a small, whether it was solar panel or wind and that kind of stuff. So that is a possibility. That is a possibility. Absolutely.
Well, we've managed to fill the time, and I didn't ask about smart meters.
Are we out of time?
No, pretty close. Is smart meters a dead issue?
Well, I think. It's now at the end. I mean, they've been operating with the latest storm. They provide a signal to BC Hydro when the power's out, which is really important. I think still, if customers see tree branches or trees on lines or some cause for the outage, we still encourage them to phone in. But smart meters are they're needed. It's needed to modernize the grid, and it was a bit of a challenge there a few years ago, but we've come through that.
Well, energy conservation we'll save for another day, and the awards that Campbell River got with hydros thing, we covered that in a different show. But anyway, Steve, it's always good to have you on, and thanks again for doing that.
Excellent, thanks. Good to be here. And
there is another issue of talk about here on Shaw TV North Island. So thanks for tuning in. Shaw TV has a YouTube channel, Shaw TV North Island. You can Google it and find it, and all of the shows are there. And I also have a website, crnv.com, where there's links to the shows too. And this one won't be there yet, but hopefully we'll put it up soon. So thank you, volunteers. Thank you, Shaw. And thank you for watching.